What's up, y'all? Have you heard about the latest hit from the Second City? It's called The Devil is in the Detours, and it's being hailed as gutsy by the Tribune and another crackerjack cast of talented, charismatic performers, clearly creative and a joy to watch by the Sun-Times. That was very visual and descriptive. This is the Second City's 112th main stage review, and it's a hilarious and unhinged descent into a dimension where chaos reigns. The show runs Tuesdays through Sundays at the Second City in Old Town. Grab your tickets now at secondcity.com and go on and join the fun. Yo, are you one of those people who like scrolling through real estate listings, maybe watching shows where people find their dream homes? Have you ever thought about turning that into a job? Nah, for real, like seriously getting paid for your passion. Well, as a real estate broker, you can have a flexible work schedule that means you can make money on the real estate stuff, but then use your scrolling time for other things you love. And if you're like, Jacoby, that sounds cool and all, but where do I even start? I got you. Learn how you can get started this summer by visiting realtorsrealestateschool.com/begin. Today on CityCast Chicago. If you're anything like me, your summer social calendar is packed, and at each of these events, you're probably enjoying yourself a little summer beverage. That's why over the next few weeks, we're going to bring you some guides on spots to drink, options to bring to the next cookout, and how to appreciate everything Chicago has to offer. First up, we're revisiting our wine guide from the spring, where we learned a little vino vocabulary. It's Wednesday, July 24th. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago's talking about. Chastity Cooper is a writer and wine expert whose new book, Wine Convo Generator, is out now, and we got a link for you in the show notes. Chastity, welcome back to CityCast Chicago.
Thank you. So happy to be back.
Hey, every time you're on the mic, we have a fantastic time. Speaking of, last time you were here, we were in this mug singing jingles together. Adriana first. But one of your great passions is wine. You have traveled the world learning about wine, sipping and sampling. So you are a perfect person to ask. Is Chicago a great city for finding and enjoying good wine?
Absolutely, 100%. I will stand 10 toes down on it just because we not only have a wonderful culinary scene, like everybody knows you can come to Chicago and eat well. We're able to have great cocktails, great beers, but I think sometimes wine gets lost in that conversation. And as the resident, meaning in my family, in my friend circles, being the wine nerd, that's just kind of been like my thing to find the spots to go to. If there's new spots that are coming to town, being the first to maybe hit them up on Instagram and be like, oh, when y'all get here? Or how long have y'all been here? So yes, Chicago is a wine city, believe it or not. New York, of course, because it's right there. It's the closest to Europe, But, LA gets a lot because they have, Napa and
amazing
Sonoma.
Vineyards. Yep.
Yeah, but we too should be in that conversation. And I just want to be that ambassador for Chicago being a great wine city.
I love that. We're going to get into some more details throughout the conversation, but let's hit the ground running. For the Chicagoans Guide to Wine, we got to talk about a few of your favorite places. What's a spot or a couple spots that just have a great selection to choose from? You go there, and regardless if you new or you're old to the game, they're going to have something for everybody.
Easy Does It on Milwaukee is I feel like I'm always there.
We run into each other there
all
three
the time.
times.
Yes. It's honestly the approach that Zach and his team have taken, and they've been around for 4 years, just about. It's easy going because wine can be intimidating. So you walk in, beautiful space, and the wine menu is up on the wall, and it has more approachable descriptions and not just oh, this is a Cabernet Sauvignon from Napa. It'll say something like toasty and, fun, or, juicy and sweet. I'm butchering the descriptions, but it's really just being able to kind of catch your eye and be like, oh, I like something juicy and fun. Let me go ahead and order me a glass of that. And then beneath that description, you'll get, okay, this is where the wine is from. This is the grape variety. And of course the price, but Easy does it. Hands down, I'm taking everybody there. You come to visit me. That's the first place we're going any day of the week. Then I would say All Together Now, which is also in Ukrainian Village. All Together Now has not only a beautiful wine selection, but they have really good food. So that's fun to go and visit. I just found out, I've known about the place, but I had the chance to go this weekend. Deep Red Wine Merchants. It's kind of Logan-ish. It's off of another one off Milwaukee, but really cool bottle shop. You can also get great wines by the glass there. Beautiful Rind is another one. Like I could go on and on.
You could.
I'm gonna just give you one more because I know we'll talk about other ones over the course of the conversation. Actually, two more. Webster's Wine Bar, that's in Logan. And then if you like champagne, if you're downtown and you want to feel a little fancy, Pops for Champagne. It's been open for 40 years. And it's just it's a treasure trove of beautiful champagne. And they got other wines too.
So obviously you are at the expert level at this point. You've talked bottle shops, you've talked sort of places you can get a good meal, places you can get good music. If you're trying to be someone trying to get into the kind of wine game, where would you in those different categories of places tell someone to maybe start?
So I would absolutely tell people to start at their local wine shop. So I live in Rogers Park. I frequent a place called the Wine Goddess. They've been around for almost 15 years, but the people who work in bottle shops are just as knowledgeable as the folks who work on the floor at, some of our esteemed restaurants across the city. So one, you're supporting a local business, which is super important. And two, you get to go and build rapport with everybody that works at the bottle shop. So definitely start there. And even Benny's too. Like I know we have those sprawled across the city and I stay at Benny's too. Like that is just the spot for me. But going in there, everybody's knowledgeable. If you have a question about the difference between Sancerre and Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand, they'll tell you just like by off the top, like what the differences are on the palate. So I would start at your local bottle shop. Then if you're like, oh, I want to actually do more of a formal tasting, we have City Winery and we have Chicago Winery, which are, both downtown. They have tasting rooms. They have opportunities for you to go and, have a flight or two. Good Funk is another one that's downtown. A lot of like natural wines.
We talked about a lot of these places that have great selections, but what's a place that has a good house wine, right? These are typically less expensive, available by the glass, geared towards a wide tasting, and really can help if you're overwhelmed with like maybe a big menu and you just want to go to a place that their in-house wines are notable and something you can trust.
Yeah, I would say, all of these places I've mentioned so far do have like their own house wine. You have places like Figo Wine Bar. I'm trying to remember. That's like Lakeview area. They have some great house wines. Juve is in Andersonville. They have their house wine is like during their happy hour is a cava. So you go in, get a great cava, $5, order you some oysters. If you want some more food, they have that as well. But these are places like the neighborhood wine spots that also serve food that have these things consistently on their menu. So I would say Figo and Juve are two places where I'm like, I know I'm going to be able to get a great glass of cava for $5 between the hours of 3 and 5. And that's where I'm going to go.
I love that. A question that just came to mind, because a lot of these places are great neighborhood spots, can bring you to great spots around the city. But there are a couple of places that a ton of neighborhoods have. Walgreens, Jewel Osco, CVS. How do you feel about the wine selections that are in, maybe our local corner store, in our local grocery store, in our local pharmacy? How are you too bougie for Walgreens wine?
Never that. So I actually pulled up to the Jewel yesterday. The grocery store is obviously, and Target, Walmart, like the big box stores, they're going to have the wines that you'll find literally everywhere. Josh Wine, Bread and Butter, La Marca. So no, I'm never too good to pull up and go and grab my, bottle of Via Ray. Issa Rae's Prosecco at
Come on.
Target. Yeah.
What somebody say? I'm gonna mix my Issa Rae Prosecco with my Meg Thee Stallion tequila.
Wow. And I might have to join them with that because that sounds like a crazy combination. But I mean, Black Girl Magic, like you have to support. You have to support it.
All right, now if you listening, you thinking, Kobe, these Rex are great, but I don't even know what kind of wine I like. We got you. Chastity is going to give us a wine 101, so stay tuned. And remember, all of these Rex are in the show notes.
Hi, I'm David Plotz, the CEO of CityCast. The best way to learn a language is immersion, living where the language is spoken and using it every day. That's how I learned French as a kid. But if that's not in the cards for you this year, you can still learn a language the second best way, and that's with Babbel. I live in a city with a huge immigrant population. You probably do too. And in my hometown, a lot of my new neighbors speak Spanish as a first language, and we have lots of great Mexican and Central American and South American restaurants and stores. I wanted to be able to communicate just a little bit better with some of my neighbors. So I started with Babbel, the science-backed language learning app that actually works. And after just a few extremely enjoyable weeks learning Spanish with Babbel, I've already gotten comfortable ordering at a restaurant and eavesdropping on my girlfriend's conversations with her mom. Look, learning a language isn't always easy, but with Babbel it is fun and it feels useful, basically immediately. That's why Babbel has over 16 million subscriptions sold. Plus, all of Babbel's 14 award-winning language courses are backed by their 20-day money-back guarantee. Here's a special limited-time deal for CityCast listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/citycast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/citycast. Spelled BABBEL.com/citycast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
What's up, y'all? While most of our favorite summer festivals are just one day or one weekend, Ravinia's festival season is all summer long. You can pick from dozens and dozens of great concerts between now and September. All right, if you're thinking, Kobe, that sounds amazing, but what is Ravinia? I got you. It's North America's longest running outdoor music festival, sitting on a beautiful 36 acres right off the Ravinia Park Metro stop. And trust me, there's truly something for everybody. On July 27th, you can catch Killer Queen, a tribute to Queen, or you can check out Gypsy Kings with Nicholas Reyes on July 31st, or maybe the Indigo Girls and Melissa Etheridge is more your speed on August 11th. I made my decision. TLC and Shaggy, August 31st. I will see you there. I'm going to be out there with a loaded picnic bag and a nice blanket. But remember, you can also get yourself a pavilion seat if you like. I like to do a picnic pavilion combo. Check out Ravinia's full summer calendar now in the show notes and buy your tickets only at ravinia.org. When was the last time you visited Chicago's free zoo? Nah, for real, Lincoln Park Zoo is free. I was just up there like 2 months ago. From outings with family and friends to a picture-perfect date spot, Lincoln Park Zoo makes for a perfect, budget-friendly summer day. In between the penguin encounters, carousel rides, delicious food, free daily programs, and more, trust me, there is so much to do. Like, did you know Lincoln Park Zoo has one of the largest zoo-based conservation and science programs in the country? They prioritize conservation, both here in Chicago and around the world, and they take animal care very seriously, running the nation's top zoo-based animal welfare science program. So as you catch a glimpse of the many animals at Lincoln Park Zoo during your next visit, like my personal favorite, the red panda and snow leopard, you can feel good knowing your visit makes an impact. This summer, visit the pride of Chicago, Lincoln Park Zoo. Go to lpzoo.org to plan your next visit to Chicago's free zoo this summer. Just watching you, and this is just a compliment, just watching you talk about this love of yours, I just want to know, how did wine come up? You talk about being the resident in your friend group and your family. How did wine become that passion in a city where, you know, we're known for beer? We're a state over from great bourbon and whiskey tours.
Exactly.
Like, you know, wine isn't the first thing people think of when they think of Chicago. How did that become so important to you?
When I was in school many years ago, I took a trip abroad. My first trip to Europe, I went to Spain. So I studied abroad for the summer. And in Spain, in a country like Spain, where wine is like water, practically, it was just really cool to see how culturally it played a role in just their everyday life. Everybody's like taking lunch and they're taking a beat, and you'll see people out on the plaza enjoying a glass of wine or two or some sangria or whatever. So I think being able to, experience that in real time really stuck with me. And I think we'll go back to, college. I went back to drinking amaretto sours and, stuff like that before I graduated, moved to DC. And then that spring of 2012, Scandal came on. So you had Olivia Pope.
Right. You had Pope in there with the 50-ounce glass.
Listen, all the Black girlies in DC at that time, we were all in trench coats. We were all trying to go to Crate and Barrel and find those glasses. And we were telling everybody it was handled. Like that was our thing. And so just seeing a Black woman, and I mean, on a show that obviously was amazing and it just blew up, but like seeing that representation also sparked something in me too, because in my family in particular, like wine wasn't like the thing on the table at I mean, it was there, but it wasn't like, hey guys, let's have dinner and like, let's open this great bottle of wine. Like it was usually, uncles and aunts would have, a variety of spirits, or they'd make really great punch for us to enjoy. And so being able to see a character like Olivia Pope, just enjoy and know about it. And then her dad played into it and her mama liked it too. I was like, oh, this was like a family affair. I love it.
No, understand. When you think about picking up wine across the city of Chicago, you talk about in your home and not being a big thing. Like my mom's a collector now, right? She travels the country, travels the world. But when I was growing up, there wasn't a lot. And when I think about my neighborhood, the only places you probably could get it were those pharmacies, those grocery stores. So when you think about like the availability of high-end wines geographically in this city, do you think that also plays that maybe the accessibility to certain wines is limited to where you live in the city, like so many other resources and amenities?
Yeah, I think accessibility does make a difference. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because just wine in general, and it's really part of the reason why I got into this industry. One, because I wasn't seeing a lot of people like me. I remember drinking barefoot in Yellowtail at Syracuse with my homegirls, and it, again, didn't occur to me without we were just like, oh, we got some wine. We having a wine night. But accessibility is such a passion for me in wanting to make, certain grape varieties accessible to people that they might not even think about. You may not even have the chance to go to Germany, but if I'm doing a private tasting, I'm gonna bring Germany to you. So it is important. And I think I wanted to continue to be grounded and rooted in accessibility, in things that people can enjoy, and they don't have a sense of embarrassment or fear of asking questions, or it's helpful for me to exist so that people can enjoy it too.
Yeah, speaking of, I mean, you run in circles of experts, but you're also, writing books and providing resources for newbies for people to come in. So for you, what's a place where you can take both your friends you want to introduce to the game, but also you could bring people there who, when you want to connect on a slightly more elevated level, that everyone feels involved?
When it comes to, bridging that gap between the formality of what I do, but also the familiarity with my family and friends, I would also take them to a spot like J9 Wine Bar. It's in Lincoln Park. That's a cool place to go. Middlebrow has bomb pizza. So that's always like a nice entry point for people. Like if you're going to feed them good, you're also going to, be able to have them enjoy, and they make their own wine too. Like, I think that's a great place to find, what people enjoy texturally on the palate. What flavors do you enjoy? And throwing kind of that funkiness in where it's like, oh, like I didn't think I would like this Zinfandel, but shoot, now I do. Or I didn't know I would like
the white Zinfandel,
I think it's definitely there's a lot of diversity when it comes to wine and what we have access here in the city too.
So we've gone through a bunch of amazing places, from restaurants to places where you could just grab bottles, do great sippings. But right? Once I get there, right, I'm gonna need you to help me out, right? Your book is all about talking like a wine expert, even if you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Right.
So what are some basic terms I need to know? Because Chastity, be real with you, G. We've been talking for like 25 minutes. You just said a few things. I think you can already see my lack of expertise. You said Zinfandel. I'm quoting some random Yeezy video from 20 years ago, right? So let's break it down. Wine 101.
Yes.
Regardless of where I'm going, what are some basic terms I need to know that are going to help me?
Absolutely. So the first thing I always encourage people to do when they are tasting wine is to remember the 5 S's. So you want to see, swirl, sniff, sip, and savor.
Okay. All right. So really it's about activating the senses, realizing that drinking wine is a multi-sensory experience. It's how does it feel on your palate? What does it smell like? What are you actually seeing in the glass? Mm-hmm. So a few of those I can understand, right? Savor, right? Maybe a little swirl. Why is it such a sensory experience? Like when I'm thinking about going to a brew pub, no one's telling me smell the beer. No one's like swish the beer around.
Right. I will say that's a great example. So with beer, it's more of like, you're tasting the hops. Like you might get notes of caramel or, obviously you're going to get like a lot of yeastiness because it's, fermented grain. With wine, it's such a sensory experience because your brain you have to be able to connect your nose to your mouth and your brain. Like these are the 3 things that are the most important because what I might smell in my glass, I might pick up pineapple, I might pick up honeydew melon, but on the palate, it might be a different experience. It might be lemon zest or some notes of rind or white peach. Like the nose and the mouth experience so many different things, but that's why it's so important to me to encourage people to smell what's in your glass first before tasting it. And I tell people to be as honest as possible. If you're smelling grapes, okay, cool. You should be smelling grapes because it started as actual grapes. But then I want to take people a little bit deeper. Like if you're smelling now later, I used to describe like some certain wines like, I'm picking up green now later or banana now later. Like, and still do because sometimes it smells like that. But if I'm, at a trade tasting, then I'm talking about phenolics and the terroir and all that stuff. And there's a time and place for that. But I think the 5 S's are really the foundation for you to be able to, give yourself that permission to taste and enjoy what's in your glass.
Obviously, there are so many different types, right? We've said things like Cab, a Merlot, right? A Zinfandel. Like in terms of across all of these types of spots, what do you think are like maybe the 3 like sort of staple wines that regardless of these spots, they're probably going to like have a good one for the beginner, like the maybe the ones I should ask for so I don't get lost in all these different names and different categories.
Totally. I think the first one that's always going to be one to ask for is a Pinot Noir. If you can get Pinot Noir from Oregon, which is one of my favorites, go for it. But Pinot Noir from California is good.
I see why you wrote this book, G, because it really, if I just say that, do y'all have a Pinot Noir from maybe Oregon? Like, bro, I feel, oh my God, like, I'm getting goosebumps just saying that out loud. I was like,
and then if you go a little bit step further, like from the Willamette Valley, and they're like, oh, snap, you really know your Pinot. Let me go see what I have. So Pinot Noir is always
Pinot
a good
Noir.
one. People might throw tomatoes at me for saying this, but Chardonnay, I say Chardonnay because you can get different styles of Chardonnay. You can get still Chardonnay. You can get Chardonnay that's going to be more oaky, more buttery. You can get Chardonnay that has not even seen an oak cask or any oakiness at all. And then you can get it in Champagne because Blanc de Blanc is all Chardonnay. So I would say Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and a fun one, orange wine. Here's the thing with orange wine, though. It's not, first things first, it's not made from oranges. So just like, throw that, if you don't like oranges, don't have to worry about it. If you love white wine, you absolutely will enjoy orange wine, because typically what happens is orange wine it can be a mixture of different grape varieties where it's like, oh, I have this Riesling, I have this Gewürztraminer, I have this Pinot Grigio, and I want to make something cute. Get all the grapes, squeeze them and crush them. I want to snatch just a little bit of color from them, but I'm really looking for the different complexities that each grape variety is bringing me. And then you have a beautiful orange wine. So I would say Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and always just look for a good orange wine because it's funky, it's different, and it's a lot of fun.
I absolutely love all of these suggestions we've gone through, from places to little tips and tricks for when I'm actually at a location. Chicago isn't known for any vineyards or, it's not on your best wine tours in America list. But are there any places, whether in the Chicagoland or nearby, where you can get a more hands-on experience, whether it's wineries, vineyards, tours, and the like?
The beautiful thing about living in the Midwest is that we do have access to these places. And a lot of people don't know this, but the Midwest played a huge role in just the establishment of American wine culture. So the first AVA, or the first American viticultural area, was actually in Missouri. People think it was Napa. Napa was actually second. Missouri was actually the first place where it's like, oh, we can grow grapes and we can make wine. Love it. The next place I would say, so you have Missouri, you have Ohio, you have Wisconsin. All these places make wine, believe it or not. But the one place I would say, pack up the car for a weekend, Traverse City in Michigan. I'll tell you why. So Michigan, one of their, most beloved fruits that they do well are cherries, cherry orchards. So there's a ton of cherry orchards, and there's a number of different wineries that actually converted from cherry orchards into wine vineyards. Traverse City produces really beautiful Rieslings that they do different white wines like Gewürztraminer, Pinot Grigio, but they also do reds like Pinot Noir. They do Cabernet Franc, like all these different grape varieties that you can find. But that's the weekend trip. If you want to get like a full Midwestern wine experience, highly suggest just packing up the car, hopping on 94 and driving 4.5 hours to Traverse City, because that's the spot.
I love that. Any Midwestern brands that you really enjoy that you try to keep on hand or you try to put people on?
Yeah, gonna start and shout out to Krishan Lampley of Love Corkscrew. She's based here in Chicago, but gets her grapes all over. Great. Her wine is delicious. You could find it everywhere. Benny's, Jewel, Target. There is the Illinois Sparkling Company. So they do their own wines as well. They're 2 hours about like southwest of here near Starved Rock. So that's where their tasting room is. Those are just a couple that I would say here, home base, that, people should try to drink more of.
Do you have any more tips? And I won't even say for the person interested getting into wine, me. Any more tips for me, someone just trying to get my journey off the ground so that one day my conversations and my gifts and my selections just make it seem like I know what the hell I'm talking about, G?
Go into your local wine shop and ask all the questions. And don't be afraid or ashamed. If you know you love Merlot, doggone it, go get you a bottle of Merlot and ask all the questions about it. I think a lot of times when I first got into wine, people would kind of like wine shame people. And that's not cool. Like, oh, you like Merlot? Like, yeah, I like Merlot. What you gonna do about it? Like, what do you like? So just move the shame, move the, fear to the side. And if wine is something that you are really wanting to, get into, then raise your hand. And I mean, there's so many opportunities for people to become somms and to learn more about wine, and just like hit me up. Like, I literally am happy to be like, all right, it's Monday. You want to go taste? I know a place. Let's go.
Chastity Cooper is a writer and wine expert, and her new book, Wine Convo Generator, is out now, and links are available in the show notes. Chastity, we always appreciate you making time for CityCast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's great being here.
Before we let you go, we got some good news for you. Moo and Foods is back in Avondale at Solidarity Triangle tomorrow night. Performances begin at 6 p.m. You can check out more events at chicago.citycast.fm. And while you're there, catch up on some old podcast episodes and subscribe to our daily newsletter, Hey Chicago. In the meantime, in between time, share this episode with your friends and family. Drop it in the group chat. And if somebody goes, what the hell is this? Honestly, I'm kind of looking at you because why you ain't already dropped it in a group chat? Why you gatekeeping? I'm going to be back here bright and early tomorrow, and you're going to bring somebody new with you. Peace.